Personally, I've always preferred The Road Not Taken. Hello out there, I'm the oldest nerd, and on the finale of The Orville, The Road Not Taken, I think it is the absolute best episode of The Orville that I've ever seen. While it was not a perfect episode, there were some things that you kind of wonder about, especially if the Kalon were such bad shots, for instance. But that's always something that you see in any kind of science fiction where there's a star fight. The good guys never get killed as quickly as they ought to because they have to continue in order for the story to be. So we had said in the previous episode from the previews that we knew that Kelly was going to come back. And it was fairly obvious that in the last scene of the previous episode, when Kelly did not accept a second date, that something had gone wrong. Some situation had happened, and it turns out that her mind wipe did not work, as you might have suspected. So we come back to the Orville's present time, and we see Gordon and Ed scouting an abandoned Union base for a replicator, in which they managed to get aboard their old beat-up Union shuttle and are able to replicate a Twinkie, which is the only real joke of the episode that I recall. And it was a good one. I chuckled through it, I have to say. It went and just completely took our characters and put them in different situations, and that was very refreshing. While it's fun to see them go places on the Orville and fight the Krill and the Kalon before, this alternate timeline that was caused by sending Kelly back in time with a mind wipe that did not work has put our heroes in a completely different situation. What happens is that Kelly not only had remembered what had happened in her visit to the Orville, but also realized where she made her big mistake in not taking that second date with Ed, and it caused the Kalons to get the Orville and take it all the way to Earth and virtually destroy all life on Earth. Not quite, but almost. And the reason that that happened was because our Orville crew was not there, and certainly Ed Mercer was not. His life took a completely different situation where Kelly must have expected at one point that Ed would have been better off, that he would have made captain of a heavy cruiser by now. Things turned in a completely different direction. His lack of a relationship with Kelly actually held him back rather than prevented him from going farther than he might have. And as far as Kelly's position, they're a little unclear about exactly what happened to her. But she was able, through her knowledge of having read her own diaries when she was on the Orville, when she took it back in time and knew what the original timeline was like, she was able to assemble from various places the crew of the Orville so that they could get together and try to restore the timeline. The key was getting Dr. Finn and knowing what the mistake was that caused the memory blanking to happen. And so we have some great special effects, some great star battles. I love the freighter. It does not look like something that fits in the same union with the Orville, really, but I do love the design of it and almost wish that they had stayed in that timeline. And in fact, the characters say they almost wish that they had stayed in that timeline. I think that had they not been able to get themselves out of this situation, they could have made a pretty good story out of that, even of taking this freighter and going from place to place and evading all adversity. But perhaps for another time, perhaps for another series. I saw kind of hints of Firefly, hints of Battlestar Galactica, some Star Wars references. But at the same time, nothing that we've seen before. Certainly a mix of ideas that kind of remind you of these things, but nothing really copying anything. And that's also a very good sign in this, that they can take a chance like they did. And this was a big chance to take with a story to where you completely change the universe around. Now, as with any hour-long self-contained episode, they had to be back in the regular timeline by the end, and that, of course, is what happened. But an epic episode, something you could have made a movie out of, I think, and it would have been pretty popular. Anyway, that's my thoughts on it, short and sweet, and I can't wait until the next season to see what they're going to do. Now, they haven't said anything about renewing yet, and the latest thing that I have read in the trades is that Disney is cutting Fox projects, Fox movie projects, right and left. This is according to the Hollywood Reporter. They have things that are not already in production are being cut unless they find that it's of a small enough budget and fits Disney's basic tenet of what kind of movies they make. So they are pretty much taking over the Fox movie studios. Now, this does not mean that there is trouble in store for the Orville, but it does make one wonder just what its status is, especially since they have not yet announced a continuation of the series. However, if the folks at Disney saw this, I think that they would have liked it. If I were there making a decision, I would say, let's keep this show going. So there is a hashtag Save the Orville. You might want to go to that, and it'll take you to a place to where you can help persuade the Disney folks to continue producing this show, and I'm certain that Fox TV would continue to want to carry it. So with that, I'd like to know what you thought about the episode. There were some plot holes, some conveniences, some things like that. I'm not going to worry about it. There was enough action. There was enough fast movement in this, a lot of good character interactions that I'm willing to overlook any kind of minor problems with this one. But I do want to know what you think, so why not go to the comments right now and let me know. And also, while you're there, if you haven't subscribed, please do, because even though the Orville has come to an end for this season, we have more to talk about it and Discovery. We have some new shows coming up, return of The Expanse, the return of Lost in Space. Who knows what's going to go on, so why not stick around and keep our channel in mind as you're surfing YouTube. But thank you very much for watching, and don't go far.